What's up, folks? This is DOD. I'm Justin Khanna. We're on episode 11. And the dish today is going to get a little bit more into the main course side of things. The set being pork, yogurt, cherry, and almond. Let's get right into it. So here I have a really nice pork chop cut from the loin. I'm just going to season it with a little bit of kosher salt. The butcher that I bought this from told me that the farm that they raise the pigs on here in Washington, they feed them hazelnuts. So whether or not that shines through in the dish, we'll see, but it's gonna be nice regardless. I feel like those pigs were really well taken care of. The fat on this looks really nice, so I'm excited to cook this. We're just gonna set that aside, let it come up to room temperature. It's called tempering your meat. From that same butcher shop, I also grabbed a little bit of roasted pork stock. They make it themselves with roasted pork bones. I'm gonna add a little bit of thyme to that and just let it reduce until it's nice and thick. And that one will come in handy later. Next up, we gotta clean our cherries. So I'm gonna do a little fine dining maneuver called making cheeks. We're just gonna kind of shave around the seed and make these really nice semicircle pieces, and we'll reserve those for a little bit later. Now you might be wondering, with all those cheeks, what are you gonna do with the rest of the cherry? And this is something that my friend Eric Rivera actually taught me a few weeks ago. We're gonna take some salt these pits, basically the pits and the rest of the meat, and I've just added a little bit of water to them. So you're essentially making more or less like a brine for the cherries, and what that's gonna do is pull out a lot of that really nice juice, as well as make a really, almost like a savory tea or cuisson with the cherry pits. And we're gonna use that in the sauce later. The last garnish maneuver involves these almonds. So I'm gonna take these are already roasted and salted, and I'm gonna take these almonds and kind of stab them with my knife so they break off into these really nice shards. Next up, we're gonna build on that sauce that we already have working. I've got a yellow onion here. We're just gonna chop that super thin. Perfect. Turn our pan on here. A little bit of canola oil, and our onions are gonna go in. Touch of salt goes in there as well. That'll help draw some of the moisture out of the onions, and they'll caramelize a little bit faster. The other little hack we're gonna do is add a little bit of baking soda. So literally like the smallest little, just bit of baking soda. And the reason I added the baking soda is because there's something about the basic nature of baking soda, the fact that it's basic, that helps out the Maillard reaction a little bit. It helps the whole process go faster. But the reason we added just a little bit is because we don't want to taste it in the final dish. Alright, so our onions are starting to get a lot of nice color. We're developing a fond on the bottom. So I'm going to take that brined cherry juice and the pits together, add them, deglaze with that. Perfect. Gonna add a pretty hefty spoon of salted butter, adding some yogurt to it. And what's gonna happen here is the yogurt is gonna kind of curdle. It's gonna kind of split as it gets heated. And then the fat from the caramelized onions and then the butter is gonna kind of separate out and make a really nice sauce that we're gonna strain and then mix with our pork stock in just a second. We're going through a little bit of a yogurt phase here on DOD. I feel like the last few episodes I've used it, but it's one of those ingredients I really am excited about right now, and I want to really wrap my head around it and all the possibilities that it has. So we're reduced pretty far down here. I've basically been scraping the entire time just to make sure that anything that sticks starts to get brown. We just scrape it right back up. And then what I have here is a strainer that's more or less like a colander, because I don't want to catch all of the little tiny bits. I want a lot of those yogurt bits to come through. So I'll go ahead and strain that. Kind of just press it through the sieve here. Try to get as many of those yogurt bits through as we can. Holy shit, that's good. Alright, so our pork stock didn't end up getting as thick as I wanted it to. It's still kind of soupy. You can see that it doesn't really have that thick quality to it, but I fear that if I reduce it any more, it's gonna disappear. So I'm just gonna strain this, get our thyme out, and that's gonna go over our yogurt cherry onion mixture. And we'll mix that all together, season it up with a little bit of red wine vinegar. That's gonna be two kinds of acid, right? The yogurt acid and then the vinegar acid. Then we're gonna break it with just a touch of almond oil. And we're not gonna stir that too much. I kind of want it to stay broken. Now we're super close to being all the way ready with this dish, but to pick it up, we need to take DOD somewhere it's never been before. And that's outside. Welcome to the roof of my apartment building. We're gonna hop on this grill and grill up the pork and the cherries for this dish. That's why we needed to come up here. Here, look. Look. Can we all just appreciate Mount Rainier for a second? Look at that, it's a monster. So I've got our grill preheating. I've got one side blasting and the other side completely off. So that'll give us two different zones if we need it. And the wind is really bad up here. I might end up voicing this over. Yeah, great idea, Justin. I apologize to your ears for having to endure that, but isn't this better? Okay, so we start by taking our seasoned pork portion and putting it fat side down here on the grill. This is gonna start to render, little drops of fat are gonna drip down and start to smoke the meat as it cooks. It's super important to do this first because you want to render the fat out and get it almost crispy, and it's easiest to do this right away so you don't overcook the rest of the pork. Let that hang out for 1 minute. I wear a watch for this part, but you can use a timer if you don't have one. Flip it over to a cut side, and again, same 1 minute sear. Then we go ahead and flip it again to the other side, and you go for, you guessed it, 1 minute, and now you pull it off the heat and let it rest for 2 minutes. In that little window you've created, go ahead and grill your cherries and thank the grill gods that they made the grates to the grill just wide enough to fit your cherry cheeks. Now we'll carefully remove the cherries and mourn for the fallen that have descended into grill hell, and then get your pork back on, fat side down, again for that same 1 minute by 1 minute by 1 minute gauntlet. Also adding another 1 minute cycle for the opposite side of the fat side. So depending on the size of your portion here, there might not be a way to actually let this stand up on its own. Use your fingers or a spoon or a pair of tweezers to help it stay on that side. Please don't use tongs. It's super important, especially when you're starting out grilling meat like this, to touch whatever you're cooking with your hands to get a feel for what's happening. Chef Chris at Lysverket in Norway taught me this, and it's how I got so confident cooking meat over a live fire. The idea here is to develop color on the outside of the meat and have that heat slowly warm the rest of the cut. No gray ring around it, just perfect Maillard reaction on the outside and tender, juicy meat on the inside. And just hang out here, you know, relax, enjoy the sun, maybe play some bocce ball against yourself. All right, last 1 minute gauntlet here. I'm really going for color now. I'm gonna pull the pork off now and take advantage of the heat source that is the grill and gently warm up my sauce. I'll get some plates ready and plate it all up. Sliced our meat, cooked just how I like it, super juicy. So in typical DoD fashion that you guys seem to like, I've done two different plate ups. One is a little bit more simple and one a little bit more haphazard, but still thoughtful. I've actually shaved some almond over the top of the haphazard one and shaved it just on one half of the meat in the other one, the more simple one. Touch of black pepper on both and some thyme leaves to garnish. Also keep in mind that with the more simple plate up, the sauce would have been table side, so that's why it's missing from the shot here. Then go ahead and enlist help from a friend and prepare your ears for wind noise as we taste the final dish. A knife.
Knife and spoon. Ow! Ow!
All right, let's taste. Take one. Share. We'll eat together. Welcome to a segment of DoD called Justin and Taylor Taste All of the Things.
Yum. Food tastes good cold. Can't imagine when it's like hot. What are your thoughts? Salty, nutty, great combination. The flavor of the cherries really kind of pops in your mouth. Crunchiness from the nuts.
Acid from the yogurt. Sweetness from the onion.
Caramelized onion.
As with the other DoD episodes where I plate things two different ways, I want to know what you thought. So let me know down in the comments. My name's Justin Khanna. He's Taylor Jackson. Have a good one. Also, I totally did that whole segment of grilling and cherries in a white t-shirt. Came out clean. Boom.